Hey there! I'm Chroma, and welcome to part 23 of Making an Abstract Adventure! Welcome back! This time, we have another test level. Not as much progress has been made since, as there usually is per these episodes, but I want to try to keep them shorter. Every time I go to make one of these, I'm like, this is probably like 10 minutes worth of stuff to show off, and then it keeps being like 40 or 50 minutes. So I'ma just dial it back, and today this should be on the shorter side, I hope, and we basically just have another test level. Before, actually I'm gonna go to that scene, we had the rooftops area, like so, and now we have a factory test level, mainly for our circle character, which is Cal, because he is a Knight Sir Cal. I've made that joke many times now, but anywho, so let's go through and see what this level looks like. So starting off here, this is kind of meant to be sort of like an assembly line. I kind of went crazy with some of these block things. We can go forward, and there's like stuff to jump over, and then there's like, was gonna try and be a robot arm, but didn't really turn out that way. More assembly line stuff. You can see some like door things. Actually, let me make this full screen. I should probably do that. Yeah, some door stuff here, like things coming out of them, but everything's all like shut down. You can see stuff in the distance and like a giant like brick wall sort of thing. A lot of like green ooze on the floor that has shadows, but probably shouldn't, but oh well. Yeah, and then here we have like a lot of small like cubes, and then this actually like turns, I guess. Yeah, and now, so this was just a bunch of stuff to like jump over. Now, one of the abilities that our this character has is a glide ability by holding the shift key. So now for this gap, we have to glide over it, like so. And then more conveyor belt stuff. Well, not really conveyor belts, but I guess off conveyor belts. Anywho, so now getting over here, we have like an acid pool that we have to jump over, and then just some platforms. And now here, showcasing another one of our character's abilities is the air dash thing that we've seen before. So here we have to actually like use that to get up this gap. And because we still have just the 2D image, it's sort of blurry in the background, but not when it's over not background stuff. I don't know. That's just something to do with the way that the post-processing stuff is blurring things. But eventually we might, like when this won't be a 2D image and is actually maybe some kind of 3D arrow, then that won't be a problem, but we'll just kind of go with it for now. Anyways, going up here, now we have another gigantic pool of acid or whatever this green ooze is, and there's jumping over some grates, and ta-da, end of the level. Yeah, not overly long. I think this is about the same length as the rooftops area. This is basically just showing off all of Cal's abilities, because we've kind of left him in the dust the last several of these logs. Q still exists. Oh yeah, also Q has animations. Cal does not, because we never got around to animating him. Yeah, so I guess I can go to showing some of how some of this was made. This was basically the same sort of system of how I made the rooftop area, in which I just have, so in Blender, I have first this like block out level that ends up being all the collision of everything we can collide with of this level, and then some of the colors, because I was just testing colors. All those, none of this is actually seen, so the colors don't really matter. In fact, not all of these objects are necessary, like these cubes that are going out forward or these ones in the background. But anyways, so then I made this and then tested out like jump distances and heights and all that sort of stuff, and then I duplicated all of those and then started turning it into this more artsy version of this level, more or less. So these things actually like extruded downwards and up to make sure everything's not necessarily just floating. Everything looks like it's actually attached to something, whether it be off screen or whatever. Now yeah, I made like a brick wall sort of thing in the distance that I just kind of like turned, I guess. Yeah, and then some of these conveyor belt things that are just kind of like going into the ground as if things are broken and breaking, and I don't know, everything's all bad of whatever's going on in this level. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, that's just, yeah, what I came up with, I suppose. It was kind of harder to make things for this area as opposed to the rooftop. I had a clear vision in mind of what I wanted to make for this, and it was just making different buildings and all that sort of stuff. With this factory, it was a lot harder. It was also a lot harder to find like reference material for things, because like with a building or with rooftop stuff, I can look up like city related stuff, but for a factory, in terms of a game sense, it's a lot harder to find good things to use as as references. Especially also with this test level, there are some hypothetical things that I could make in a factory that I didn't want to deal with in this test level, like actually moving conveyor belts, maybe some like electric water, or more like yellow and black like hazardous things, explosive barrels, who knows what. A lot of stuff that could maybe be in a later more polished version of this level. But for now, with this just being a test level, I just wanted to test movement and some of the abilities that our character has, and that was all. Yeah, now as well, I messed with some post-processing stuff a little bit. If I go over to wherever over here are lighting. Oh yeah, I also these like little crevices here, they were really dark, so I just added some point lights. It doesn't look the best, but it was just kind of a temporary thing. Over in the post-processing stuff, I guess I can just show off. If I go back to the game view, this is what our scene looks like without any post-processing effects, and then voila, things are more saturated. There's a little bit of the dark shadow thing around the screen, but not that much. There's a depth of field, which exists, and yeah, and then the color grading that is just making things more saturated, more oranges, more greens, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that more or less is the progress that has been made. I haven't done much stuff with the characters yet, because now that I'm done just updating on the progress, I want to talk about some more stuff. We're running into some problems, and I need to start replanning some things that might change the game drastically yet again. Probably not like I'm not going to go back to 2D, I don't think. The shift from 2D to 3D is still happening, and I'm still kind of in the process of doing that. Even a lot of this like UI over in the like for the health and the collectibles, that's still needs to be somehow updated into 3D, maybe, unless this is fine. I don't know, but oh, I actually need to change some of these colors. I forgot about that entirely, because yeah, this character's health thing, it should probably be the same color, like the magenta sort of color. The yellow works, I guess, but anywho, so yeah, there's that. Now, in terms of character stuff, I quickly messed around, just kind of trying to think of what I want characters to look like. I tried like just this like box with arms and legs style. There's no mouth, but there could be a mouth. I also just gave this all like solid black eyes. I could give them like white eyes and then actual like This was also made in like this was made in like a minute, so not a lot of actual like effort was put into these. I was just trying to like get a rough idea. I could go and actually make pupils, for example. That looks horrifying. What if that looks worse. Okay. Anyways, I could mess around with that. I also, they don't necessarily have to be extruded like out of the body there. I could I could go ahead and do something like this, and then something a little like this. This is just, again, going very rough. And then I could make eyes that are actually like in the body like that, and then just color this like okay, I didn't this is all being done like on the fly, but yeah, making eyes like this, or this could also still be black, and then making two eyes. Okay, anyways, there's different avenues I could potentially go with this. Let me go all the way back to where I just was. There we are. I also tried potentially giving it like a body, and then it's like a big head. This could also still have a mouth. I don't know. I mean, that could be a style I could go for where that is mouthless, maybe. But the main thing is that this one's all blocky and this one's all spherical. Although this, I'm really not happy with how this looks. This one looks better. Although I didn't realize that I just happened to make this one yellow, but it's basically turning into Pac-Man, so like a 3D Pac-Man. So that was not my intent. So I don't know if I'm gonna want to change Cal's color to not be yellow if I go for this style, or I could keep it as is. I don't know, but I do like how this looks, but I don't like how this looks. Even if I were to make this like a ball shape, it's still, I don't know. There's still something like wrong with it. Yeah, that I don't really know how I'd go about making better. These are also at the moment all like different just objects that I just stuck on. If I actually were to make this a proper model, this would probably all be like in one object, or maybe, I'm not sure, where I'd actually like extrude the arms out and they'd actually have like bendy points or something like that, and then whenever I go instead of an actual like proper rig and all that, yeah. There's also with the cube character, for example, I could also go and make it a little bit more round. I don't know if that would help. That does not look very good, so probably not. There's still just so much that I'm trying to figure out how I want to go about doing certain things. Yeah, that's where I'm currently at there. But before I get into actually going and changing the characters, oh, actually, for one thing, I could just leave them as ball and cube like this. I mean, the cube right now, like, that looks pretty fine, being a bit jello-y in terms of how it jumps up and around and all that. I kind of like that. It's also pretty simple. If I go out of my way to make characters like this detailed, or more detailed if this actually had a more of a face and like the hair that the character had before, I don't know if that would be too much compared to the background, because definitely this background is not as detailed as the rooftops level was, and yeah, it was hard to like come up with ideas. Actually, let me get into another tangent on that. So in terms of actually making level art here, I've been running into a lot of problems, because it's not just about making the art like this or like this. It's making art that fits the level restraints that are kind of in place. So what I mean by that, I think I may have touched on this in a like 2 videos ago. No, the last like abstract devlog thingy. Anyways, so when I'm designing stuff with this level, anything that's sort of on the plane that the player walks across has to be flat. So I couldn't take like this thing here, and even if I wanted to give it more detail, I can't necessarily do like this and have that be round without there potentially being problems with me doing that. Or I can't like, ooh, look at the detail that has. Now that's, you know, very problematic in terms of walking across it. It'll also mess with the collision that I had with these other initial objects, which I could change. But yeah, at the moment, the way a lot of the movement stuff is set up, it doesn't work the best with super spherical movement stuff, or like it doesn't work the best with having a lot of like angled stuff like this. It's not necessarily designed for that at the moment. So it's kind of hard to design some of these levels with some of those constraints. Like here, I wanted to have some like just cubes, like crates of some kind, but I kind of have to make the top flat. So I had to just extrude things randomly and hope that it looked decent, I guess. But for example, like this sort of extrusion that I have on the front, if I tried to have something like that on the top, where I do the exact same thing that I did to make that one, if I do something like this, now there's like a hole here, and that's a problem with collision. Like it could be very clunky if you're sort of getting stuck in holes like that or stuff like that. Or even if this is extruded slightly up, now there's a bit of a lip in terms of yeah, trying to be on those. And then stuff like, if I undo that real quick, this so I had this like gate sort of thing here that's like this is closed, and that's what these things were coming out of. One, I can't have the gate open, and there'd be like a black void, because then it's like the player could potentially travel there, but they actually can't. So then it's like invisible walls, which is not good. As well, this sort of metal thing that I have going up and around, I can't necessarily like extrude that out, even if it would look better for a gate, because then that causes a lip. Stuff like that. There's just so many like problems I kind of thought about, but then I didn't realize the extent of how problematic they would be until now. Yeah, and then there's other things here where I tried to have this one section where you just jump across like an acid pool, and then you go up an area to test that air dash thing, but now there's a problem. Like I didn't necessarily know what to do with this, because originally it looked like this. It was just some blocks extruded this way and this way and a lip. In terms of a factory, I'm not sure what to make this, so I just kind of extruded these outwards and made it kind of rounded and all that. Speaking of roundness, I'm going to continue going on tangents, because there's just a lot of problems that I'm facing right now with designing all of this stuff. This level, I kind of forgot and only remember like halfway into designing all this. This was meant to be not only just the area testing the circle character's movement, but the area that's meant to be all circle-y. So like over the rooftop area, this is meant to be like the cube character's like home area thing. So everything's all like blocky, because it's the cube character's like city or whatever. This is a factory that's meant to be like right beside the sphere character's like city area thing, which is meant to be all like everything's all round or something like that. Yeah, so if I wanted to try to stick to that style, then hypothetically all of this stuff should be round, I guess. But then that does not work with the way that this is designed with what I just said. For example, if I tried to like these crates, if they were more rounded, then you can't really platform off of them very well. Stuff in the distance, that can be all round, that's fine. but specifically the plane of what intersects with the player is very problematic. Especially even if I already have things kind of like turned like this, there could just be a lot of problems in doing that. So right now I'm just facing a lot of problems that I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get around them, I guess. I'm just not completely sure. Yeah, that's a lot of like art problems that I'm facing right now, but it's still going better than it was in 2D. Like here I've at least made stuff before I couldn't even make any environmental art. I also don't want to get too complex because again, I'm trying not to overscope. I think I'm kind of at a point where I'm realizing, yeah, I kind of overscoped again, but I don't know. I might have to cut some of the things that I planned at some point to get this to actually work. But yeah, I don't want to go too detailed with my environments because I want to actually finish this. Then I can go back and make things look. I can add more detail, I suppose. Now then, another thing that I wanted to then lead into is gameplay-wise. I'm sort of also at a point where I'm seeing that there's some definitive gameplay problems. One, the thing that I said about not being able to properly move in terms of like spherical platforms, stuff like that. I think that's kind of an issue for our ball character. I might try to, I don't know, rewrite some of at least the ball character's movement to be able to actually like be on more curved platforms. But then am I just making a Sonic game, like a 2D Sonic game? That's also an issue. I don't want to be like copying other games that exist. I want to make something that's more unique, but I feel like I'm just starting to, I don't know, copy ideas of other games that exist. Now, I'm not expecting my game to be 100% unique. I don't think that's something I can realistically achieve, but I don't know. I'm trying to be somewhat unique at least, like have some fresh ideas or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, now in terms of this character's actually abilities, there are some other problems here, namely with this glide. The glide with the double jump, with the air launch dash thingy, is very broken. You can travel very far distances with it. If I go all the way up here, if I jump, double jump, hold the glide, I can glide so far, and then I can air dash up and glide even further. That is a definitive problem. That kind of breaks the whole game. And especially, I was going to have, initially, you don't even start off, like, you start off just being able to jump and double jump, and then later into the game, then you get the air dash, and then later you get the glide. That just kind of makes it so that the further you go through the game, the easier it gets, because as soon as you get this glide, it's kind of like an easy mode of being able to, like, jump to platforms. It's just not, like, it reduces a lot of the challenge. That's a problem. Coupled with the air dash, so that's just an issue. Oh, there's also some things here where you have, like, this cube is only turned slightly. If I just hit D, I'm not jumping at all. You can kind of see what's happening there with trying to go up and over it. That's a problem. Going at it from the other side does not appear to cause problems. Yeah, there's just a lot of, like, small things that need to be fixed. Well, the whole gameplay with these abilities, that's very much a big game-breaking problem. With the cube, that's, I think, better handled. This is just jump, double jump. The wall jump, that's okay. I think that's fine how it is. Then there's, like, the crouch and all that sort of stuff. And then there's still the attack that, like, I haven't touched in, like, a while. What button? This one. Yeah, so there's still, like, this attack that I haven't even properly made for Cal. I haven't even made enemies yet. I still am not at that point because I'm still trying to, like, sort things out before I go. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing with enemies. Even with the designs. Like, if I'm just sticking with, like, balls and cubes like this, how do I make threatening enemies that still fit the style, other than just a red cube and a red ball? I'm not sure. I'm still just trying to sort out a lot of things. I'm also just trying to plan more of this and maybe replan some things. And there might be, I may have tried to also, I may have overdone it with the abilities. One thing I did want to really try to do when I was making this game is make it very user-friendly and very hopefully intuitive and accessible to all ages. Yeah, I don't know, but you know, basically, the wider my target audience is in terms of people who can play the game, the more people I can get to play it. You know, like the wider it could reach potentially. So I'm thinking that there might be too many buttons for that to be the case. Things might be confusing for people if, like, there are so many buttons. I mean, right now I could do a count. There's WASD, that's fine and standard. IJKL as like its own stick for aiming the arrow thing. There's that. There's Q to actually switch characters. There's E to interact. I think it was E, yeah. There's U for the attack, and then O does nothing. Yeah, so, and then there's Shift for the glide and the crouch, and then there's Escape to pause. That, other than Escape to pause, that's, I'm not gonna count that, I guess. That feels like it might be too many buttons, so I might try to... Let's see, I don't want to scrap code, but I might have to. Maybe just taking out some of these abilities. One thing I also looked into as well that seemed kind of interesting. If I, for a moment, pretend that there's no double jump and just act like there's only one jump, it already, well, for there, that height, you kind of need 2 jumps to get it. It's also an interesting thing. It makes the game immediately feel a lot harder because you don't have like a second chance to correct your jump if you miss something. You kind of just only have... yeah, the one jump. That feels like it might make things harder. That might be something I'm might look into doing. Maybe I might get rid of the double jump just to make things a little harder and more fun or something. Yeah, I don't know. I think I also really need to tweak more of the speed of like the speed, the jump heights, all that sort of stuff. Because there's also stuff here where I wanted to have this glide distance. You can't even see that there's a ledge over there that you can glide to. You kind of have to take a leap of faith, which is really not good. Even if I look without the glide from this box area here, let's see how far you can jump and double jump. You can jump to somewhere that you was off screen previously. So right now I can jump from this platform, a double jump all the way to here. That's a problem. If like that means I can't really have any long jump that's still you're jumping to somewhere on screen. There's not a lot of difficulty in that necessarily. Like it's hard to make that more difficult, I guess. Like I can't really have jumps that are like not pixel perfect, but like just under pixel perfect, because then you're jumping to areas that are off screen. That's a problem. Okay, yeah, right now I'm just like ranting about all the problems that I'm currently facing here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to keep planning things. I just have to keep like, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but some things need to change. I just don't know what. It's something I'm trying to figure out. I'm also considering maybe, so right now as well, the 2 characters, I tried to make them, like I'm wrestling a bit with how different or similar I want them to be, because I feel like I've also kind of lost focus of the main thing that this game was supposed to be is you have 2 characters, a cube and a sphere, so they're very different, and they have very different abilities having to do with what shape they are, and you have to do stuff with both of them to get around. I feel like, yeah, that's sort of not as much the case anymore because a lot of their abilities are very similar. I kind of have changed them both to be very, very similar. And I kind of, initially I had to do that because if they're going to be traversing the same portions of level, they kind of have to be a bit samey, or otherwise there could just be a lot of problems with that. For example, if like the ball character was, if I do change up the movement so that this cube or the ball character is better at traversing more angled ground or more spherical like surfaces, then the Q character has to walk through that area. That's like, that just wouldn't work. And I don't even know what I'm gonna do with that. Yeah, there's just a lot of problems there with how samey or different might make these players, because they're gonna potentially be traversing the same areas. But then that's something else. Maybe I change it more and they don't go through the same areas, and I'd make their controls very different, so that, I don't know, it'll feel more so different. Yeah, but then that's the question. Am I then just making like 2 different games packed into one? And that's not something I necessarily want to do. Then I'm just more so over-scoping in terms of planning this huge project that I wouldn't be able to reasonably finish. Yeah, so there's that problem as well. Something that I was experimenting with that looked kind of cool that I can show off as potential, like, I might get ideas out of, is, so I can actually take this camera and, actually, if I duplicate it real quick, drag that up, I can take one camera and move it over like this, and then move the other one like that. Not like that, like this. And then bam, we have like a sort of split screen kind of thing. And then I can go and, if I turn on maximize play and then go down to, and if I change one of them to starting with the other character, then I can have this kind of thing where one camera's following one player the other camera's following the other player. If I try to switch, it kind of is weird. It like flip-flops. This is something else I could potentially do, maybe, where these two characters are in different parts of a level doing their own thing, but when you switch, it just kind of, you go from controlling one side to controlling the other side, and then you'll like hit a switch with one, and then it'll do something to this one's environment, but they're actually going through different environments. And maybe I could make that work better with the 3D stuff, because then, if I pause it real quick, I could take Cal and I think this camera, that's not going to work moving both of them at once, but I could perhaps play with the Z-axis, and maybe you're going across two lanes of movement. So maybe, what is that, Cal? Yeah. So then maybe Cal is like moving around in this area, left and right, his own like spherical ball-like area. And then in the background, you have Q doing her own thing, with whatever boxed platforming I'm doing. And then like hitting a switch here, does something over there. And then like hit a switch there, does something here. Stuff like that. Maybe that could be an interesting idea that could work better. I don't know. I'll have to see. I've also currently been designing this. The way that I've been planning the game past the demo stuff, even with a lot of this test level stuff, I've made... let me undo all that real quick. There we go. Right now I have this area that's just for Q, Q, and then this area that's just testing Cal stuff. So far I've been planning a lot of these levels like they're just going to be, like you're spending a lot of the game doing levels where you're just one or just the other, and then later, a lot later into the game, then you would be doing levels where you're both. I might want to rewrite a lot of my story to make it that you're both almost right off the bat, perhaps. I don't know. That might be better, because then I'm going back more towards the main different thing that my game was going to try and do, in that it's not just a 2D platform. It's like you have the two characters that different abilities and all that. I feel like I've kind of lost that, and that might be something I want to change things up to try and get back to. I know another small thing as well in terms of environmental stuff. If I change the camera to orthographic and then play with some scale stuff and quickly go and disable that the motion blur that's causing some problems, or the depth of field. This is something mildly interesting I discovered that I can do, is that, so if I make this all like flat, like an orthographic thing, this is an interesting style that exists, and there are some problems with, like, you can't really tell some of the depth. But this is another avenue I could potentially take this to try and make it look different. Because then we are kind of getting back to where we were before, where we, back when it was sort of 2D, like we could maybe, okay, it's very hard to see these little, like, ledges in here, and I don't know what, okay, so something, like, seems to have, oh, never mind, okay, something, like, seems to have broke with the, air dash, but, okay, anyways, whatever. So that is something there that seemed interesting. Maybe I could go, if I did something like that, that might make it easier to design some of this environmental stuff, and then maybe I don't have to worry as much with the background. I can design more so with the foreground, and then maybe I'll be easier. I don't know. All right, now I'm just throwing out ideas of potential things that could change. I really don't know what I'm going to do or how drastically things are going to change. I guess just we'll see. So I think I might end things off here. I just wanted to go and describe, or just like talk about sort of what's been going on with this. And yeah, I think I'm going to wait until I'm going to sort out some of this gameplay stuff first before I go back into making like, or more with this like character stuff or more test level stuff. I don't even know. I might make a new different environment for making more like whatever I make next. I did try making this little like jump test thing when I was just messing around with like the jump heights and all that. So I might just make a little like another blocky area like this just to experiment with different ideas. Yeah, right now I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but I think the main thing I want to do is go back to just focusing on gameplay for a bit. Like maybe I should just disregard the story stuff for a minute. Go back to just okay, I'm making a lot of hand motions that you can't see, but go back to just tuning out the gameplay, making it better. Right now it's okay like on its own, but and this scene also has the rain from before, but I just feel like it needs work if it's going to work. And then I might go and maybe, even though I made them a while ago, I might get rid of some of the abilities if I want to make things simpler. Because definitely I don't want feature creep to be too much of it's already becoming a bit of a problem with here. What I might, try to do is maybe lessen the amount of abilities that the character has, but then trying to do more with those abilities. So like right now we do just have a lot of just platforms that you're jumping between. Eventually for actual levels, there's hopefully going to be more things in the actual environment that you're interacting with, like the moving platforms, certain types of hazards, even with enemies. I don't even know. Yeah, even the attack. I haven't even like looked at that in a while. Maybe I might get rid of the attack and then making it more Mario-like, where you are just kind of jumping on enemies and stuff like that, and then making enemies more of like a puzzle obstacle thing rather than just, I don't know, hacking and slashing. I'm not sure. Again, I'm just throwing out ideas of kind of my thought process of what I'm thinking right now in terms of where I'm going next with this game. Yeah, but I think that's for now. I'm gonna call it a day here and get back to hopefully sorting a lot of these issues out. But yeah, so next time, I don't even know, it might be a long time before I make another one of these. I really don't know. But for now, I'm basically just going to be fine-tuning this gameplay, going back to the core of like what was going to make my game special, and sorting that out, maybe trying to alter the story so that I can have a more, like, even more simplistic art style than this. Not more simplistic than this, like, so that this simplistic art style can work better. Yeah, I don't know, and maybe because there was also with the environmental stuff, the whole point is that, yeah, you're in a world with like these cube creatures and these sphere creatures. I don't see a lot of spherical things here. Maybe I could try being a bit more abstract with my world design. Abstract, like the name of the game. No, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't even need like super complex environments like this. What if I could just go simpler and you're kind of just in these like, I don't know, more abstract worlds of different colored like blocks in the background, or maybe, I don't know. And another, actually, I completely forgot about this. Another small potential idea that I had was maybe I could try testing out a more tile-based thing, where instead of, so you know how in like 2D games sometimes they have like, okay, let me just open up Paint real quick, I guess. So in a lot of 2D games, whoosh, a lot of the pixel art is done by like a tile-based thing, so you can like tell that all the ground pieces are kind of like one image block that's been sort of copied over. Maybe I could try to do something like that in 3D, where in Blender I just make different, like, I don't know, terrain blocks that, like, maybe this one is, I don't know, looks like grass or something, where I color the top of this like green and then the bottom of it like bam. Oh, that's not what I wanted. And then I could color like the bottom part of it like brown, and then that's not brown, but actually, okay, let's just pretend, yeah, that's like a dirt block sort of thing. I can make this a lot better. Anyways, so I could make like stuff like this, and then I can copy it over, and ta-da, and then making more better stuff on top of it. Oh, you know what's a good example? What's that game? Captain Toad, I think it's called. That's a game I know exists for like the Switch. I've never actually played it, but I believe that game has a kind of what I'm talking about, where things are more blocky, I believe, based off of memory. Maybe I could go for something like that, but somehow make it work in this like 2.5D platformer style. But then I also don't know how I'm gonna put the spherical stuff into this. I don't know, or maybe I don't even need to. I'm not sure. Maybe I could have more of the sphericalness come out of like the actual stuff in the environments. Like if you have like statues or stuff like that, I don't know. Or maybe more nature things like trees and bushes, flowers. I could have more of the spherical elements in there. Because that's another thing. I don't necessarily have to have like these worlds, like there's a level that's all spheres and stuff, and then a level that's like all cubes and whatnot. I can have some mix and match. In fact, it'll probably be easier to design if I do design for having that mix and match in there. But I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, anywho, I've been rambling for quite a while, so I think I'll call it a day here. So thank you all so much for watching. Yeah, next time I'm just gonna be, or as of right now, after I stop recording this, I'm gonna be just trying to fine-tune making this gameplay better, and then not starting from the ground up, but hopefully just pivoting in a better direction is how I'll word that. But anyways, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you around.